Hey guys, welcome to Hosea 8. Again, we're going to be continuing the previous chapter, the apostasy of Israel. Let's get right into this. Set the trumpet to your mouth. He shall come like an eagle against the house of the Lord, because they have transgressed my covenant and rebelled against my law. Excuse me. Israel will cry to me, my God, we know you. Israel has rejected the good. The enemy will pursue him. They set up kings, but not by me. They made princes, but I did not acknowledge them. From their silver and gold they made idols for themselves, that they might be cut off. Your calf is rejected, O Samaria. My anger is aroused against them. How long until they attain to innocence? That's really interesting. He mentions the calf here. Because there's and you think it's something normal and simple until you look at the history behind it and you start to realize, I think there's more there. And it may be something innocent that somebody's doing, or maybe they don't realize who's leading them. A great example of that is, and it's an everyday thing, a guy in San Marcos, no, I take that back. New Braunfels, here in Texas, has took a bunch of metal and he welded up a custom barbecue pit. It looks like a revolver pistol, and you open the side up and it's a barbecue grill, and the barrel is a little chimney and stuff like that. Another guy down here started doing golden longhorns. So he made this big longhorn shaped. It looks like a longhorn steer with the big long horns, and it's all painted gold, and you open the side and you cook the meat inside. Well, they used to make these calves back then, these cows, and they would put people in them to torture them and roast them to death. It's a very, very old thing. Comes from way back in Exodus, when they made a golden calf. Why would they worship a cow? What was the purpose of worshiping a cow? But you can see everyday things can be made into that. That barbecue pit, I don't know if anybody ever bought any, probably did, but that barbecue pit, that's a perfect example of that. A golden cow that you cook meat in. I don't know if the guy knew what he was doing, or maybe he's being led by someone else. I don't know. They have put up a statue of Baphomet in this, I forget what country it's in. I don't know if they knew what they were doing. That's not Baphomet. Yeah, it is. Then they put up one of Baal. The dude with the cow head. So it's not hard to start to see who's leading people. When you start to see these little things and realize there's more to this. It's not just a barbecue pit. It's not just a little statue. I've seen them with them where we're hanging them around their neck. Little medallion. It's got a little image in there. And if you look real close, you see the pentagram behind it. You're a devil worshiper. I told a guy that when I saw it. I said, you're a devil worshiper. Oh, no, I'm not. This is wickedness. No, you're a devil worshiper. He's a real nice guy, too. I said, you're wearing the emblem of Satan on your neck. I said, and you've got the statue of Baal in the center, the image of Baal. You're worshiping the old gods. He didn't really like that, but it was right there. It was easy to see. Everybody could see it. And what was funny was the other people were like, what was that necklace? I was like, it was a pentagram. And on the front was an image of Baal, statue, a cow god. It's a man's body, cow's head, and they used to roast. I told them the history of it, what they would do with it, and they're like, what? I was like, yeah, it's a real thing. It went on for a couple thousand years. For sure, easily a couple thousand. At one point, almost everybody was doing it. That's terrible. It's everywhere. You start looking around, you understand these images that are in the Bible, and start looking around, you'll start to see them all over the place. Grocery stores, clothing stores. And you start to realize, wow, it's in every aspect of the world. Every aspect of life. Yes, it is. Satan has integrated himself into everything. You can't escape it. Unless you move out in the middle of the wilderness and don't ever talk to nobody again, grow your own food, draw your own water, build your own house, have no electricity, never get on the internet, never watch TV. And what's funny is that's almost impossible today because this stuff is broadcast everywhere. Even by accident, you'll hear something on a radio or see an image on somebody's TV. I mean, half the cars in the world have TVs in them now. Your calf is rejected, O Samaria. My anger is aroused against them. How long until they attain to innocence? For from Israel is even this: a workman made it, and it is not God. But the calf of Samaria shall be broken to pieces. A workman made it. That guy made that barbecue pit. You think he knew what he was doing? I don't know. But it sure looked like what the Bible describes. They sow the wind and reap the whirlwind. The stalk has no bud. It shall never produce meal. If it should produce, aliens would swallow it up. Demons. Israel is swallowed up. Now they are among the Gentiles like a vessel in which is no pleasure, a vessel of dishonor. For they have gone up to Assyria like a wild donkey alone by itself. Ephraim has hired lovers. Yes, though they have hired among the nations, now I will gather them. And they shall sorrow a little because of the burden of the king of princes. Because Ephraim has made many altars for sin. They have become for him altars for sinning. I have written for him the great things of my law, but they were considered a strange thing. For the sacrifices of my offerings, they sacrifice flesh and eat it. But the Lord does not accept them. Now he will remember their iniquity and punish their sins. They shall return to Egypt. For Israel has forgotten his maker and has built temples. Judah also has multiplied fortified cities, but I will send fire upon his cities, and it shall devour his palaces. Did you know in the past women would bathe in the blood of virgins in order to stay younger longer? It was rumored that was something Cleopatra would do. Rumored. Did you know they have found people doing that as early as last year? Caught people doing it. They were exposed for doing it even the year before. Some stories that I found that I never shared of very famous people. You wonder why some of these movie stars stay so young for so long. Why is it none of us out here can have access to that? Oh, maybe because they're doing something they probably shouldn't be doing. I don't know. Just my opinion. But every now and then, a little bit of evidence comes out and shows you what they're really trying to do. All the stuff that's happening today is all from all the old gods. Here's a mind blow for you, and it's actually an interesting study. If you go back and you start looking at where the names of the names of the months, the names of the week, it all goes back to old gods. Go into the MCU. Thor, Superman, Flash. Take all those names of all those characters, the Hulk, Iron Man even, and take it and trace that back as far as you can as to where they came from. You'll discover what I discovered, that funny enough, it actually, most of them, if not all of them, Spider-Man, they all link back to older names, and you keep going back and you keep tracing it back, and it traces all the way back to the original 200 angels at the base of the Mountain of Hermon that made that covenant and polluted the generations of man. The very beginning fall, it traces all the way back to that, because those angels had interesting names and attributes, and these people in these movies today mirror that very specifically. Nothing new is under the sun, like the Bible says. It's all old. It's all stuff that has already happened and already existed. Nothing people are doing today is new. It's very, very old. Where do you think the concept for vampires came from? The two little holes. Yeah, it wasn't because somebody was biting their neck and drinking it. It was because they put. You ever seen a body get prepared for death? They put one tube in one artery and one tube in another, and they push air in one side, or formaldehyde in this case, and pump the blood out the other. If they're going to bathe in the blood of virgins, then they're going to be. And at that time, most of the time, it was virgins they were finding. They were taking the blood out of the people and then tossing the body. This is very old stuff. This is what the Lord is getting into here. He's like, Israel. And the other prophets mentioned it in not so super specific detail. Some of the things they were doing, the abominations they were doing down under the temple. Remember, who was it? Was it Jeremiah or Isaiah? I think it was Isaiah. And he was looking through the wall, and he could see what they were doing in the basement of the temple. The things the priests were doing. Horrible things. This is nothing new. What they're doing today is the exact same thing. What our governments are doing today, the exact same things. They're into the most horrible of things. Don't get me started on a certain agenda that's being fought over right now, Roe v. Wade, and what the implications are behind that. Because when you start to trace what they were doing, and you find out one of our greatest enemies was a very big customer of theirs. And I did my research. Of course, I can't talk about it here. I did my research. I found out what they were doing with it. Cannibalism is a big thing in the world today. A lot bigger than what people realize. They just hide it pretty well. But if you do enough looking, you'll find it. Again, nobody will believe me if I say it, but the point is, none of this stuff that they're doing is old. It's new. It's very old stuff. What's going on today? What they're doing today? What they're doing, Israel, right now today, is what they've been doing for thousands of years. The same thing. Nothing new under the sun. Nothing has changed. And God is going to deal with it in the same way He said He's going to deal with it. What He talks about in the past books, in the Old Testament books, the prophets that we're reading now, that's exactly what's going to happen in the future. Nothing new under the sun. And depending on your disposition, you can become very terrified seeing these things. And very disgusted. But God will bring justice. Not only is He going to bring it on Israel, He's going to bring it on the rest of the world. These things are going to be set right. When God says the earth shall disclose her blood in the 7-year tribulation, what do you think He's talking about? Can you imagine when God says the blood cries out from the earth? Can you imagine having to hear the blood of the innocent crying out from the earth? The billions upon billions of people that have been killed over the last 6 millennia crying out from the earth. Yeah, that would make anybody mad. And God's going to deal with it, and He's going to set things the way they should be. Not only Israel, but the whole world. And so we read this to understand, by the example that was set by their apostasy, of what not to do. We stay away from those things. We avoid those things. We don't partake in those things. So we don't end up in the same boat. But instead, as people of God, as children of the Most High, we walk on water by faith. Let us do that. Let us not go the same path they went. And I see the churches, air quotes, quote unquote, churches doing that today. I have to keep putting the air quotes on there because a lot of people listening think I'm lumping everybody into one group, and I'm not. They know who they are. We know who we are. So let us take these examples and pay attention. That's why I'm reading this. I don't like that the prophets, the videos that I'm doing don't get a lot of views. I wish more people would see it because I think it would actually be a benefit to more people. But I think that the rule of the day today is gossip. We're looking for real-time prophetic fulfillment, and we want to see other people's opinions on this, of what's going on right now, instead of looking at what God already told us was going to happen. Because if we go back into these old prophets, we see that. He tells us these things. We just got to go pull it out and look at it. But as is the case today, almost no one reads from these old prophets. I can tell you every book that I have never heard anybody read from. Not quote, read from. It's easy to quote a verse, but to read the whole book, almost no one does it. That's why we're here. So guys, that was Hosea 8. Tomorrow will be Hosea 9, judgment of Israel's sin. Keep in mind, Israel's sin is spread over the whole earth. The whole earth does these things. So not only is it going to be on Israel, it's going to be on the whole world. That's the 7-year tribulation. All right, guys. Love y'all. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.